Requesting. Hi,
Oh,
everybody. Let me just
you,
position this.
you look gorgeous.
I don't, but
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, please. Yes, you do. You look super beautiful. Marta, thank you for hopping on today. How are you?
I am well, guys. I am sunny Cali. So sun is shining and it's a good day. I'll tell you that much.
It is a good day. It's definitely a good day. We're happy to have you today on Where's the Buzz TV. Many people have seen you on Shazam, Mama Rosa, and they've watched
Mama
you.
Rosa, that's
Yes,
right.
they've watched you on Tika on White Line. So we're going to get into everything today. So again, we're happy to have you. So let's dive right in here.
Yeah.
So Marta, you are from Madrid, is that right?
Yes, I'm from Madrid and Ibiza. I grew up in both places, so a full-on Spaniard.
I love it. And then you left Madrid and moved to New York in your teens to study at NYU. Is that right? And
Yes, yes.
you got a double major in arts, history, and acting. What was it
Yep.
about the arts that you gravitated towards?
Well, my mom, I was born in a family of artists.
Hmm.
My grandfather was an architect and a painter. My mom is a painter and a sculptress. My other uncle is a classical music composer. Other aunt is a photographer. So I was really basically raised in the arts and but no acting in my family. I was trained to become a violinist. My grandmother wanted me to be a violinist from age 3. And I had this teacher that would come home and teach me violin in this tiny little mini violin.
Hmm.
And at age 7, I in the music academy where I spent hours studying musical language and stuff like that I found incredibly boring. My the owner of the musical academy was looking for a girl who would be able to memorize a lot of text to do this play that Michael Ender wrote, who wrote The Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, like 6.5 or 7. And I was like, I want to do that. And I got the part, and then I never looked back ever since. I was doing Shakespeare at age 8. So,
Wow.
yeah, I think one of the things that I'm very lucky for many reasons, but one of the reasons I'm the luckiest of all is that my parents never really questioned or never really doubted my dream
Yeah.
and the fact that I wanted to be in the arts or be an actress. And now looking back and seeing how hard this career is, you're like, wow, they never really questioned me, so that I never doubted myself. And I think that's the greatest gift you could give to a child is support them in pursuing their dreams. And I'm really blessed for that.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Marta. I talked to so many people and I asked them about, did you get support from your family in choosing such a unique and different career path? And I think that it's very important for parents to advocate for their kids and get behind them in
For
whatever it is
sure.
they want to do.
For sure. Yeah,
Mhm. And so
definitely.
most recently, you became a U.S. citizen.
I did. I'm an American citizen too, guys.
Yes. So why was this so important, Marta, for you to make it official? Because you've lived in New York for about 16 to 17
Yeah,
years.
yeah. I had a green card for a long time. Well, I'll tell you this much, guys, and I think it's very important that we bring this up in the light of the situation of the country right now and what we're going through. And I don't want to step in anybody's territory and speak in things that I'm not that well versed upon, but I feel like I want to give my 2 cents of what has been my experience. And I'll tell you that one of the reasons why I became an American citizen is because in my experience and in my journey and in my struggle and in my wanting to make my dream come true, I realized that the American dream existed for me. And I came to this country. I had a privileged family that supported me and paid for my education. So that in itself puts you in a different position than many other people in this country and obviously where I come from. But I was blessed enough to have that. But that being said, I didn't know one single person in the United States. I didn't know anybody in New York. I didn't have access to this business or knew anybody in this business or anything like that. And with that dream and that really strong belief in what I wanted to do and working as hard as I knew how to, opportunities were granted to me, doors were opened for me.
Mhm.
I was able to make a career for myself in this country in a different language, coming from a different culture with a different background,
Mhm.
different ethnicity as well. And I was an example of that. I was able to do it, you know, and that is the ideal that to me America stands for. And I was living proof of that ideal. So to see that same thing that was available to me not be available to someone else because of the color of their skin,
Right.
or their socioeconomic background, or whatever it is that puts them in a worse position, that's what I think we need to change.
Yes.
And it's funny that it happened right now, because I'm like, wow, this is the country that I love so much, that I also became a citizen because of believing in that. Because where I come from, you know, it's much harder to make room for yourself unless, you know, you come from a certain background or you have certain access. Here, what we generally perceive as America from the outside is that, oh, you can do whatever you want, you can be whoever you want.
Right.
And it's not always like that. It was for me. But what I still have faith in is that one day it'll be for everybody.
Yes.
And we just have to fight for that all
Yes.
together, stand with one another, you know.
And I love that you brought that up, because obviously we aren't, even though America is a beautiful country and people come here for more opportunities. I mean, the fact is that we are not, some groups of people offered the same, you know, privileges as others are. And I want to ask you, Marta, as being a new citizen, American citizen, what are some things that you want to change about this country? And now you're able to vote over here. So what are some things that you're...
I'm going to be able to vote for the first time. Well, listen, I have great, I mean, I grew up in a country that's primarily white, and I didn't have any black friends, you know, and I moved to New York at the age of 19, and then I was like, oh, there's people from all kinds of backgrounds and ethnicities and religions and cults and cultures, and I have learned, thanks to them primarily, because I've learned so much from Black history and clearly their history in this country and what has had to be overcome and yet has to be overcome in hopefully the near future. Clearly there's that race issue and that socioeconomic difference that I think we all together, by changing laws, by being able to vote for people that can actually change things. Because I think the frustration to me, what brought me to tears, and again, I did post something on Instagram the other day saying, I know that I will never understand,
Right.
because I don't have that background, but I want you to know that I stand with you. I stand with this cause. I stand with this move, and I want to educate myself as much as I can and continue to learn from people that can teach me,
Right.
so that when I do vote, I will be absolutely informed into what I'm voting for. I do believe that all the access to education, I think if I could change it, that is the thing that I would really change right now, is being able to make real proper education accessible to everyone, and the arts. I feel like through the arts and through what I do for a living, like even with my show White Lines, that is the best escapism formula you could ever imagine, right? It's a show about partying and having a good time, and not you know, and the superficial nightlife world, and drugs and sex and alcohol and all those things that clearly now seem so superfluous.
Right.
But being in the arts and being able to give people that tool of evading sometimes of the heaviness of reality, I think that's also important. So I feel having art accessible to people, that is something that I would definitely change if I could as well.
I love that, Marta. And I did see your post supporting the cause, and thank you for using your platform and your voice for that.
Absolutely.
Let's get into White Lines.
Yes, let's talk about
Let's talk about it. So I absolutely love this show. I love you in this show. You play Kika. Tell us, for those people who have not watched it, who are on now, tell us what this show is about. What is the show's message for you?
Guys, I will tell you that everything that you haven't been able to do during lockdown is condensed in this show. So by all means, come hang out with us, because we have a roller coaster of emotions. We have crazy family stories. We have roller coasters from like past, present situations. We have drugs, we have orgies, we have beautiful locations, we have the ocean, we have Ibiza.
Yeah.
We have the music. I mean, the soundtrack and the score of that show is absolutely phenomenal. For those of you guys who like trance music or electronic music, it's an homage to how Ibiza became the electronic music mecca. And it's loosely based on all these DJs from Manchester that back in the 80s, even though the show is set in the 90s, they moved to Ibiza and they set up shop there with these macro clubs and this culture to music and to raves. And I think there's that, but then that's sprinkled with a little bit of Succession, you know, that HBO show, and a bit of whodunit, murder, Big Little Lies. There's a little bit of everything there.
It is a good mix, and there's this beautiful story, this complex story, but yet authentic story of family that I love. You know, it shows like that family. You can maybe be in a broken space, but you can grow and rise from that, if you will. So I love that aspect of it as well.
I'll tell you, I don't know if you noticed that, Ash, but what I noticed when I first spoke to Alex Pina to join the show with him, when he offered me the role of Kika, he said, mention to me a show that shows a dismembered family, a broken family, and that same family that from the beginning you think there is no way they can come together, but they actually try to get back together. And usually you see shows where a family falls apart in the duration of the show. But here is the other way around. It starts with it being so broken. And from what has happened in the past and present, you're like, there is no way I could forgive that. I could never forgive my mom for doing what she did to me on the show. But yet again, there is this eternal optimism of always having faith in family and love, no matter how bad it looks, and no matter what the odds look like not looking good at all. I have that. I feel like that is uplifting in this show, because it really gives you the chance of being like, you know what, all in all, and we know, I mean, I come from a blessed family, thank God, but I have most of my friends that don't come from the love and support rock and foundation that I come from. So Kika I've portrayed her after many of my friends' families, and still I'm like, oh, there's a chance at getting better. Never give up on love, and never give up on family if you can. And I think that message is cool with White Lines.
And you reunited with Alex Pena for this show. He's Money Heist. He's the creator behind Money Heist.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, you worked with him on The Pier. Talk to us about what it was like to reconnect, and did you just say automatically yes to it?
I mean, if Alex Pina calls you a second time around to work with you, you don't say no to him. I'm like, I will be a lamppost on your show if you want, you know, whatever. But yeah, I've always been in awe of his talent and his capacity to tell crazy stories. And I think of him as a Spanish version of the Coen brothers, because he creates this completely mad characters that look unrealistic in what you think normal life is. But then you put them in crazy circumstances and you see how they unravel and how they behave, and most of the time it becomes hilarious because of the craziness of the circumstances themselves, you know? And you have that in Money Heist, you have that in The Pier. The Pier is slightly more dramatic and slow paced, but there is a lot of that as well. And you definitely have that in White Lines, you know? So, but what cracked me up even more, I don't know if you know this, guys, but Alex Pina speaks not a word of English. And he wrote the show completely in Spanish, had someone translate it for him, but him not speaking English had no way of really knowing if what had been translated was exactly what he meant. So the experiment it has been to shoot this show in Spain with half the crew being English, half the crew being Spanish, some people speaking Spanish, some people not, and vice versa. The anthropological, talking about a sociological experiment has been of being like, what do you mean? Did I say that? No, this is, let's call Alex. No, but Alex, no, let me translate. Hold on. What? Yes? No, let's do it again. Take two.
And good thing you speak almost 7 languages, so you were good. You were there to help the crew figure that out.
I was good. We had and you know, I can say this because I've teased him publicly already about this, so I know he's good. But one of our directors, Nick Ham, who directed episode 1, 2, and 9 and 10, who's the loveliest English madman. And he would, in the scene at the beginning of episode 2, when we're burying our dog, and my parents in the show, my parents, the actors, barely speak in English, right? And the scene is shot in, it's filmed in Spanish because it's just a Spanish family, but you know, he is directing us in English, and I'm cool with that. But my dad and my mom on the show, not so cool. But he's assuming that everyone is completely fluent in English, and he's giving all this, you know, not so literal directions. And
Right.
you know, we're in the altar, and he's like, "Oh, darling, 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 let's take it from the top. All right, from the top." And my father is like, "Yeah, yeah." And then you see, oh, rolling sound, and you turn around and you see my dad crawling up the steps of the altar. So you hear, "Cut, cut! What are you doing?
Right.
You told me to take it from the top of the altar. I'm gonna take it." He's like, "Not from the top of the altar, from the top of the scene." So man, you had,
oh my God.
and that is just one of the, like, it would happen on a daily basis. Danny Mays, who, as you can see, is a professional clown and one of the funniest people you'll ever meet,
Right.
on and off screen. And he would show up on, you know, we would be tired and hungover. We would show up on set, and he'd be like cracking jokes to the entire crew. No one would laugh, and be like, "Wow, tough crowd over here in Spain, huh? People." And I'm like, "No, man, it's not. They don't understand you. Your accent is way too close, and your jokes are way too English. It's not about." So he's like, "This cultural shock. I don't know. I don't know if I get it." So we have much better sense of humor than you guys. So let's just put me like that.
Did you know how the show would end? Because I was shocked at how the finale. I was shocked at that.
Yeah.
Were you aware of how it would end? Did you know?
I did not know who the killer was until I think episode 9, and the last few episodes were delivered quite late. The scripts, there had been a lot of rewrites and whatever, and we were filming between Mallorca and Ibiza and Madrid, and it was, you know, we had several episodes open at the same time, so it wasn't definitely an easy shoot, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
And so then when I found out who the killer was, I called Alex, and I said, "What? Hold on.
Right.
Why didn't you tell me?"
I thought it was you.
I mean, I'm your little, you know, like hand. I'm like, "No, teacher's pet. No, I don't get to be that." He's like, "No, I couldn't tell you because you're Kika," and they would inform, like in the dinner scene in episode 7, it would be, and I get it. I completely get it now, but I was kind of like, I wish I would have known. Yeah, but it's, I think he did the right thing by not telling the actors who it was, because I think it would have informed our, whether you want it or not, the way you handle yourself in a scene, it just would have been different.
Love that. What do you want to see? Are we going to get a season 2, or do you want to see a season 2? I know the fans want to see a season 2.
Man, I want to see
the people in the comments.
Don't you guys want to see a season 2?
Yes, they're on here. They want to see a season 2. So
Luna Merck, someone, because I keep seeing all these things that keep popping up on people. Oh, that's awesome.
I feel like there's certainly more to tell. The story has so much more to I feel like
the premise. Yeah, I think. Listen, I would love for Kika Calafat to run the Calafat family, like her father. You know, he's given me the reins of the family, and I definitely want to call the shots. She has that. She has that Spanish blood pulsating through her veins. So I would love to see her doing that and handle it maybe well or maybe not so well with Marcus. We'll see, because that's another story that I'm like, what? I did not see that coming.
So do you know anything? Season 2?
I don't know. I know as much as you guys know. What I do know is the numbers have been obviously spectacular.
Amazing.
We've been number 1 in, what is it, over 30 countries with Netflix, and the number 1 on IMDb last week. So if I just base myself on the numbers, I'm thinking it looks pretty good. But you know, but what I would love to see as well, if there were to be a season 2, is see how she fixes her relationship with her mom. I feel like there's a lot of mending to do there, a lot of therapy, a lot of forgiveness, and I think it's a good window for families in similar situations where, you know, daughters or sons want to fix things with their moms. I think that's an interesting angle as well to pursue, you know.
And I think that's a relatable storyline, because we can all relate, especially women. A woman and her mom, we can all relate to, you know, that dynamic of, you know, if you get into it with your mom or you have a, you know, rift, how to patch it up or that road to patching it up. So I think that
Definitely.
storyline is definitely relatable to everybody, for sure. So Shazam,
Ooh.
anything? So I loved you again. You're just
Thank
a
you.
beautiful actress. I just have to give you your props. I love everything that you do,
Thank
everything
you.
you touch.
Oh,
And
you're gonna make me cry.
no, I'm serious. So thank you for just delivering and being such an authentic actor, because you take on these characters in your roles and you make them feel, like I said, relatable. You make them feel personable and people can see them and see themselves in your character. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes. So talk to us about Mama Rosa. Shazam was a
Man,
smash hit. Season 2
Mama
is
Rosa,
coming. Are you
yes.
coming too?
Well, I sure hope so, because otherwise my kids are not leaving the household unless Mama Rosa is calling the shots.
Yes.
No, I mean, I sure want to hope so.
Right.
We were supposed to start filming this summer. Unfortunately, obviously, Corona happened, but hopefully it'll be sometime in the fall. Crossing fingers for that as well. We're still up in the air with the specific dates. But I did talk to one of our writers and I said, listen, do whatever you want with Billy and Freddie and all my other kids, but Mama Rosa wants to fly too.
Yes.
So I want my own cape.
You
And he said,
deserve it.
what more superhero do you want to be than being the foster mom to 6 kids? You can't beat that.
That's a superwoman, right?
And I just thought, I said, you know what? You're right. But can I still fly? I just want to fly.
Give me that.
Give me that. Even if it's in a dream sequence. Even if
Right.
it's a dream sequence, the Mama Rosa's like sleeping and she's like, oh, where's my cape? Where's my
I
dream?
love that. I love that.
You know?
I love that. Talk to us a little bit, Marta, about that process, though, because your interview process, your audition process, because it was a blind audition, right? So you didn't even really know what you were auditioning for this role. Talk to us about that.
I didn't. So I'll tell you a funny story, guys. I did a movie in New York with Ron Perlman called Asher, and I played a Mossad spy, and I had to wear wigs.
Yeah.
And I had never had short hair, and I thought, oh, I look kind of cute with short hair. I'm just going to cut it after this movie. Of course, little did I know that you look good with short hair and wigs because it's a wig.
Right.
And it's made to look cool. When you cut your own hair, Spanish Mediterranean hair that's thin and stuck to your head, you look like a cow licked your head. So you don't look that cute anymore. And anyway, I cut my hair, didn't look so good. Come to LA, I had to cut it even more because it was growing in weird shapes, and I cut it really short. Get this audition, I have to sign all this NDAs and this confidentiality, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, whatever. And I walk into the room and it was the audition for Shazam, but I didn't know it was, I knew it was for kind of probably a big movie because of all the secrecy, right? And I walk into the room and the assistant to the casting director is like, holy shit, you just look exactly like the comic. And I'm like, what comic? It's like, oh, I can't tell you. I said, what do you mean you can't tell me? Is this a comic? Is this a superhero movie? And it was not a long scene, maybe 3-4 pages. I can't even remember, with a different, the name was changed or whatever. And weeks went by, and when I did get the offer for the movie, and it was for Shazam, and I, heard all the amazing things that came with it.
Right.
I got an email with the photo of Mama Rosa in the comic books. And I literally had by complete coincidence, which of course I know it's not a coincidence, it's my guardian angel, Saint Michael, up there in heaven somewhere. Yeah. I had cut my hair exactly like the comic book character.
Wow.
So I think maybe if I hadn't cut my hair, maybe if my short hair didn't suck, I wouldn't have got it. I don't know. I'm just, counting my blessings.
I feel like you were destined for that role because you also did a lot of work with your mom back home working with kids. So you have nieces and nephews, so you've been around children, you've worked with kids, and then
and foster kids too, actually.
What? So did you just seamlessly pull from your own experiences for this role?
Yeah, there was one family. My mom has done a lot of. Well, she's a charitable person since we were very little, and she's taught us that is an important duty that we have as privileged and people that have more than other people, and you have to give back in whatever capacity you have with it, whether it's your time, your money, your talent, your intellect, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I had that ingrained at a very early age. And one of the volunteer stuff that she did was working with this foster group There's this nuns organization in Madrid that they take foster children from various dangerous situations for these minors, right?
Right.
They all come from pretty, not just orphan kids, they come from very conflicted backgrounds. And there was this group of siblings with the same mom, but each of them had different dads and, drugs, you name it, prison, like really, really unfortunate circumstances for all of these kids to grow up in. But they were all brothers and sisters from the same mom.
Right.
And the mom obviously was schizophrenic and had all kinds of drug troubles, and she couldn't take care of them. So these nuns took all of them at the same time. And I'll tell you something that I think marked my childhood, and then I think marked one of these kids' childhood. They were all, different backgrounds, different ethnicities as well, the kids between them as siblings. And one of them, they were all, and they're all, by the way, doing great. They all have their lives. They all have jobs, and they all have healthy semi-adulthood, because I think they're all past their 20s now. Yes. And one of them, who was, because I speak all these languages, we were really encouraging them to study languages. Say, like, study English, study French. Maybe you can go live in France. You can go and study in England.
Right.
And one person that volunteered with my mom said to her one day, because my mom kept saying, you can be whoever you want to be. You can get whoever you want to be as long as you educate yourself and study. Trust me, it doesn't matter where you come from. It might be a little bit harder, but if you really work hard, you'll get there. And she kept repeating this and like pounding it on this kid's brains, And one of these other volunteers one day said to my mom, why are you telling this to him? They come from this background. The mother's schizophrenic and a drug addict. They don't have any money. They live in this nun's place until they're 17, and then they'll be thrown on the street. And don't give them false hopes. And my mom was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right. What do you mean? It's not false hope. It's real hope.
Yes.
So I tell you this because they all went. This kid in particular learned German. He's a lawyer studying and working in Germany now.
Wow.
And when I got Shazam and they all saw the movie, I called them, of course, crying on the phone,
right,
saying like, I might have inspired you guys in getting places thanks to what we kept telling you and what and what my mom kept telling you. But see how much you've inspired me, because if I hadn't had that experience with you guys, I probably wouldn't have gotten that role either, because I understood what it was to bring kids together that feel like they don't belong and to give people hope. Yes. That's what Mama Rosa does. And I try to do that in the best of my capacity in my life personally, because I think that it's my duty to give back. But that movie to me, that it was shown in orphanages all around the United States. Like a lot of kids from foster families and orphanages related a lot to this movie for obvious reasons. But to see this subject matter be reflected in a movie of this impact, a worldwide box office hit, is not spaceships exploding, and no, it has such a powerful message that I'm just so grateful that I get to be part of it.
We're all grateful that you get to be a part of it, and we can't wait to see you continue to be the Mama Rosa that you are.
Yeah, Mama Rosa times two.
We can't wait. And speaking of charity, Marta, you have such a beautiful spirit. I'm enjoying this. You're also involved in the Art of Elysium, which helps sick and developmentally challenged children in New York and in LA. Talk to us a little bit about that work that you do with that project.
I did. Well, I haven't worked with them in a while. I did that for many years before I moved to LA. They have, the thing for me with that organization, I've always, like I said, because of my childhood with my mom working for this this nun organization, it was always children. It was it's the thing that to me has always touched my heart to the most deep level, to have a child not have health or have a child not have love. That makes me question God, and whatever I can do to add, your little grain of sand, I think it's mandatory. Of course, growing up here, being by myself, I didn't really have any money when I moved to the States, and I couldn't donate to big foundations, but I could donate my time.
Right.
And I thought, and I realized that one of the things that is crucial that not a lot of people think about is when a kid is sick in a hospital, of course, is to give that kid a cure. But how do you make them excited? How do you talk to them about art, or read them plays, or perform things for them, or they're most of the time bedridden or stuck to a computer game. And what I did with Art of Elysium was precisely the opposite. Is like showing up, doing little performance plays for them, and making sure that they would get their mind off things a little bit, which is what I was talking about before. Right. Making art accessible to everybody, whether they're sick or just they don't have access to it. I think through the arts, we can educate and uplift people's spirits so much. And especially if you are either in sickness or just in a bad place in your life, or in your childhood. I think with arts and community and positivity, you can change the world. I really believe that.
I love that. I love what you're doing and that you give back so selfishly. Talk to us a little bit about going behind the camera. Do you have any plans of directing anything?
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Well, of course, Corona happened, you guys, and you can imagine you have to sit with yourself and be like, oh, I'm not going to be acting anytime soon. So let's think about other things. So I'm working now on writing a children's book. My younger sister, she's a marine biologist. She lives in Hawaii, and she has one baby and another one that's about to pop this week or next week. We don't know. But we have this idea of telling a children's story that has to do with the ocean, and she's going to help me with her friend Ali with all this like underwater characters that I'm not that we're well versed on, because I'm not a marine biologist, Right. Then I'm also translating a friend's play that I want to hopefully be able to produce on Broadway at some point. And then just like narrating stories. I hope if things were to go well and we were to get White Lines 2 and so on and so forth, eventually be able to shadow a director and direct. In any way, shape, or form, telling stories I think is what I was meant to do, and I would love to continue doing it in front of the camera. But I feel like as you get older and as you get to know the way of this business in more depth, and you have more access to more people that are doing great projects, I would be happy to do it in any way. I know that I'm not a writer. I tried after NYU. I did another screenwriting course thinking I got this, and I so don't have it. So I'm going to focus my energy in producing and directing, and surrounding myself with great writers around me. That's for sure.
I love it. And before I let you go, Marta, during this quarantine period, how have you learned, or what practices have you developed for self-care for yourself?
Well, I've been meditating. I learned to meditate a few years ago, and I kind of with this lifestyle that I've had for the past 4 years of literally living on an airplane across the globe, like LA, Madrid, Vancouver, Toronto, New York. I mean, crazy, and not being everywhere, but not being anywhere at the same time.
Right.
So it has allowed, because you've been in lockdown, so you don't get to go anywhere or travel anywhere for that matter. Self-care in the sense of being able to sit with yourself and do some introspection. I've been lucky enough to have my parents with me during the lockdown, because I flew them to New York for my citizenship ceremony, and then they got stuck, and I was like, I don't want you guys to go back to Spain, so I brought them here to LA. Okay. And I've been taking care of them for the past 2.5 months. They just went back to Spain. So I've been lucky enough to be with family, and my grandmother, who's 92, just recovered from Corona. She survived it in Spain, and I called her, and she's like, when are you coming? When are you taking me out to dinner? Because this whole hospital thing, I'm sick of it. And I'm like, wow, 92 years old and giving me attitude? Great, I have good genes.
Yes, you do.
So that's a good thing that I've learned as well during this Corona, that I have good genes.
Good genes, yeah.
But pretty much what's I think important is, and I live in a nice community here in LA called Paradise Cove,
Oh, okay.
and I'm telling you, the sense of community, of neighbors, of walking out and talking and being there for one another. When you live, when we've been caught up knowing our lives, our busy lives, and traveling and this and our jobs and going to the office and coming back and being on set and coming back, you kind of like stop paying attention to the small things,
Right.
the awareness of even seeing butterflies. I've
Right.
never seen butterflies in LA, and now I see them every day, and I'm like, oh, planet Earth needed a breather.
Right.
It was a way of just forcing us to give it a breather. So I hope we have short memories as humans, and that's not good. But I hope that in this instance and in this case, we will carry that lesson with us into the future. I'm an eternal optimist, so I will continue to have faith in humanity and in people in this country always.
I love that. And we have faith in you and your beautiful heart and all that you're doing. Thank you so much, Marta, for taking the time
You're welcome,
to
sweetie.
be so thoughtful and wise and share your wisdom upon us. We appreciate you. And we can't wait to see White Lines 2 in Shazam.
Oh yes, guys. Let's cross fingers. I'll keep you posted.
Please keep us posted. Thank you so much, Marta.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
Where is the buzz?
Oh, yeah. Where is the buzz? You said
We used to be
was
a singing group.
mine, oh, mine.